You know what's crazy? This is the last ever episode that I ever talked about in Crystal Sins. I'm officially caught up with my previous episodic YouTube series about Steven Universe, which that one spanned a much longer time. I'll probably be done with the whole show and the movie and future in the same amount of time that Crystal Sins was a thing. Damn, I really figured out how to run one of these YouTube channel things in that time, didn't I? You ever think the 3D text in the intro is just kind of weird from like an art direction perspective? There's almost nothing else in the actual show that's made in 3D to the point that if I see something that is, I end up freaking out and pointing at the screen like a soy jack. I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that the season 1 intro looks less impressive in general, but seeing 3D text makes it look a bit more cheap. Almost like those word art things you make in PowerPoints as a kid.
I'm sure you knew this day was coming sooner or later.
I always thought this was Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, but someone recently pointed out to me that it's more likely the main character from Ian J.Q.'s old webcomic. And when I say old, I mean like ancient history old in internet time. The first page of it was uploaded in 2000. Look up RPG World if you want to check it out.
I understand your concern, but that language was inappropriate.
Steven's calling me out. Listen, I gotta keep swearing, otherwise YouTube's gonna mark all of these videos as made for kids.
I'm a crystal gem. I'm a big boy now.
I still only hear the sentence mixed version of this in my head. From that same YouTube poop as that Greg meme.
I'm a Christian now.
We are Christians.
Apparently a lot of you haven't seen that one.
Man, I guess I can't be in the ninja squad anymore.
This scene is kind of future themed as well, very subtly, but Steven seems to be preparing himself to become older and less jovial despite none of his interest in this stuff changing. I used to think this whole scene was pointless, which it kind of is, but it does at least dip into what this episode is about. At least a little bit. Between shots, this box fills with way more toys than the 3 that he started with, plus the Ninja Squad poster. Why does Steven own a tennis ball? This is a really weird, maybe even stupid question because tennis balls are so ubiquitous and recognizable, but I can think of only 2 reasons that someone would buy a tennis ball, one being that they actually play tennis, 2 is that they have it to play fetch with a dog. This tennis ball is a plot contrivance. These are the things I think about. This Yoshi toy is fucked up looking.
Oh, seriously? How do you always know where to be?
Whoa, Steven actually asked a fucking question and it led to something actually happening? Has this ever happened in the show? Does this ever happen again?
Well, I guess you could say that I have a sort of future vision.
This is it. The writers have written themselves into a corner. You can't take it back. The cat is out of the bag now. Future vision and time travel share a lot of the same narrative problems, especially when the power is explained so vaguely. The main problem being that it's inconsistent. Sometimes Garnet can see exactly how something is going to play out, and sometimes she can't see it at all. The power is handicapped whenever the writers feel like handicapping it. And when they don't, it's overpowered and bullshit. There are so many moments in the show, and I'll be sure to point these out, where you can ask, why didn't Garnet see this with her future vision? And there's never a good enough explanation. You can't say that she didn't have enough information to see it, because in other instances, Garnet's future vision makes her nearly omnipresent, giving her information that she otherwise would have never known about. And if the excuse is, it just wasn't working that day, then why give her the power in the first place? I genuinely think including this power does more harm than good to the show.
Well, Danger is my middle name.
That's a lie. Your middle name is Cutie Pie.
I can't. What am I supposed to say about this? This is just a wholesome Garnet moment. I can't analyze it, but if I don't include it, you guys are going to say something about it in the comments. This episode has a lot of scenes that just exist to fill time, this one being the most obvious. I guess that story they wrote wasn't long enough for a whole 11-minute episode, so they had to make all these filler scenes and montages. It kind of brings the episode down for me.
Okay, we're done.
Man, Garnet, just shut the damn thing off. Don't break it. Those things aren't cheap. Okay, seriously, this scene is like 20% of the episode and accomplishes absolutely nothing. I don't think this eyebrow thing is funny. I'm sure some people do, but it goes on way too long.
Time is like a river that splits into creeks, or pools into lakes, or careens down waterfalls.
I had my own interpretation of Garnet's future vision that I personally think makes more sense. I even wrote it down like months ago. Time is more like a mountain range. You can see up the slope and you can choose other paths, but as you get close to the peak, you can see less and less. But when you get to the peak, you can see a vast distance. This will make more sense when this power comes back in later episodes. I might have a visual diagram drawn by then.
So, what would happen if I said hi to Sadie?
The most probable outcome is that Sadie will say hi back.
Hi, Sadie!
Oh, hey, Steven.
You didn't need future vision for that, you fucking nerd.
What would happen if I said hi to my BFF Lars? Our friendship is deep but complicated.
You know what? Yeah, I think there is some sort of friendship between Lars and Steven, even this early. There's been at least a few scenes with him being buddies in one way or another. Back at the end of Lars and the Cool Kids, a little bit in Coach Steven. Lars had Steven on his shoulders in Ocean Gem. We haven't had a Lars being explicitly rude to Steven moment in a really long time, actually.
And 2 more potential futures where you suffer 3rd-degree burns all over your body.
Ooh, sounds like a potential lawsuit. Maybe it'll spark an investigation that leads to the exposure of the Big Donut's money laundering operation. That's my future vision prediction.
Hi, Lars!
Lars barely throws the coffee pot. It just launches out of his hands when he lets go.
I drink coffee for breakfast.
It wouldn't be a gemology video if I didn't repeat something I said in Crystal Sins, and this is my last chance to do that. Garnet sprays all this coffee capable of delivering 3rd-degree burns at everyone in the Big Donut.
You know exactly what I want.
Petey has some sort of future vision, maybe even more reliable than Garnet's.
For starters, you could just be going on about your business, eating your fried bits, and then suddenly you choke to death.
Yeah, this episode is all about overcoming the fear of death, which I think we've all had to deal with at some point in our lives. A lot of kids' media touches on death at some point or another, but usually from the perspective of grief. Steven Universe, at least in this episode, takes the fear of death approach, and plays on it in a really unique way that I haven't seen done before. This is a reference to Ghosts and Goblins, where you die and instantly turn into a pile of bones. But like, this is kind of confirmation that Steven can die, and being half gem doesn't make him immortal. This point only makes sense if you've seen the show and future before, but yeah, if Garnet can see Steven dying with her future vision, I'm pretty sure that's a thing that can happen. Ooh, a lot of red crosses in this shot, that's a lot of war crimes. It's not a war crime, that's so fucking ridiculous.
And that's just a few instances off the top of my head.
Garnet is being morbid as hell, which didn't make any sense for the longest time, but consider an alternate future timeline where Garnet doesn't do any of that and Steven just starts becoming really annoying, asking for future events and shit all the time. Just a thought. This might be a callback to the pilot where they kill the skull monster by pushing the donut sign off. The donut sign falling and a skull. It could be a coincidence, but it's one hell of a coincidence.
Cookie Cat, you're real? Ah, no! I never considered that you would be evil!
Yeah, it's an allegory for the gems. We'll talk about that more in next episode. That's like the episode to talk about that. This is the same helmet that Steven wore when he rode his bike in Bubble Buddies. Oh shit, the fucking stools are missing. I guess they're not impervious to continuity errors. They're even there in a later shot. Correction, there's actually only one stool right here.
That will kill you faster.
Not funny!
Shut up, Steven. That was the funniest thing Garnet has said all episode. Let her have a win.
Do I choke on a pickle?
You don't choke on a pickle.
That means something else happens with the pickle!
What kind of joke is this? Is this supposed to be an innuendo? If it is, it's not clear. At least not like that one Jimmy Neutron innuendo.
Once when I was 7 years old, I sat on a banana. And of course, that changed my life.
That show was fucking weird.
And do not go on the roof, no matter what.
Okay, use the meme text. Garnet tries not to be ominous as hell challenge, parentheses, impossible. Isn't this a screen door? Steven's house doesn't have a regular door, does it? I'm no building inspector, at least not professionally, but that can't be up to code, can it? Steven's whole house isn't up to code.
How come you guys are back?
We're made of magic.
These Beedrills are gem monsters, I guess.
Master of Ceremonies Bear Bear. I'm a big boy now. Big boy now. Boy now.
This one's really weird. In most cartoons, the audio editors would add reverb and an echo effect on one line, but in this scene, it's Zach Callison doing 3 different line reads. This is the first time I'm able to say this. This is pretty bad sound design.
future?
This scene has a lot of similarities to a scene from Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's so similar that I almost think it's an homage to that scene.
You've always thrown everything you could at me. Well, I can take it, and now I can give it back!
The more I know that I don't know.
That's the Dunning-Kruger effect for those of you Dunning-Kruger effect fans out there. Garnet's shades shouldn't have a reflection like this, right? They're made up of one continuous flat surface. There should just be one reflection, not two.
I took a risk at your expense. There was a chance you'd understand this and we'd be closer. Stephen, I see so many things that can hurt you. I should never have let one of them be me.
Oh, fuck, I think we needed some of this. Remember when I was complaining about Garnet not having anything to do early on, and how Estelle's line reads were pretty flat and horrible around that same time? This scene makes up for all that. Garnet is a real character, a real person even. This scene is almost perfect, and the voice acting seals the deal. A lot of people say Garnet's best moment in the season is in the finale, but I think it's this. This is awesome, and long overdue.
There are millions of possibilities for the future, but it's up to you to choose which becomes reality.
Free will confirmed canon?
I do understand. What am I doing?
This is a really cool way to cover the fear of death thing I mentioned earlier. Stephen's spending all this time trying to avoid getting hurt or killed, but then realizing that wasting his life worrying about the future is just as bad as losing his life.
I'll watch out for myself from now on.
It's a good joke and it makes the point that Stephen does still have the gems looking over him, but I think a joke kind of undercuts the seriousness of the scene. Also, Garnet just used her electric powers. That power comes up only like 6 times in the whole show. I bet you forgot Garnet had electric powers since the last time I mentioned it, in Arcade Mania. And I bet you're gonna forget again by the time she does it again. Damn, in this roller coaster that is season 1, I guess we have to have these low points. I think this episode is pretty average. The final scene on the roof does all the heavy lifting, but I think the first half seems to be wasted screen time. I also think the cartoony death montages kind of undersell how actually distraught Stephen is about all this. It turns what would normally be a genuine concern into something silly that Stephen is probably overreacting about. And yeah, he is overreacting, but the show doesn't really lead the viewer in the same way Stephen's mind was going. I think this whole episode should have been darker to really sell it, like the last scene. This show is so good at being dark when it needs to really convey how serious something is. Next episode is a masterclass in that. Other than that, Garnet's characterization in this episode is long overdue. Even though I've said Garnet hit her stride a long time ago, this focus episode is something we needed for her to stay interesting. The one biggest problem about this episode is Future Vision, the power. They've opened up Pandora's box with that one. And if you want to see new episodes of Gemology a week before they premiere on YouTube, you can subscribe to my Patreon for just a couple bucks. $2. The link is in the description, as always. Shoutouts to my Journeyman patrons, Henri Wickers, Bananas Are Violet, Boomblurp, Gage M, Cinderant, Scala LD, and the Tamara. Also shoutouts to these apprentice patrons. Next episode is On the Run. That episode's sick. We'll discuss it next week.